Hey, we're live. We're live. Uh, okay, we're actually just gonna do a little test here. This is the January 15th edition of Living Courageously Exposed. Um, we're having a few technical difficulties. It seems to be the thing with this platform recently. So let me see if we can get Leah on here. If not, we're just gonna postpone this one. So let's see here. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Oh, did it work? Now I gotta
Well,
find where.
it gave you a countdown, but I still don't see you on the screen. Are you on your end? Are you on the screen?
I can't find my where Be Live is. It shows my camera's on, so it must be. I don't know. There it is. Nope, it doesn't show. I can check Facebook.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You can hear me on Facebook, but you don't see me on screen,
Well, that's kind of a bummer.
which
Um,
makes no sense.
it makes zero sense. So, we're because this is live. Like, we got to make this decision. Do we want to just have the chat um and if they can hear you? I can't even see you on my Facebook.
No, you can't see me, but you can hear me.
No, on mine, I'm not showing you on my Facebook. So it shows I'm live, but I'm not showing the.
No, you can't see me, but you can hear me. Yeah.
No, on mine. Okay, well, should we just do it? Maybe by
Okay,
some weird miracle you'll pop on.
go for it.
Oh my gosh. Hey, welcome to the July 15th edition of Living Courageously Exposed, where we just we just put it out there. It's live, it's unscripted, it's real, it's raw, it's how it is. We don't um this is a professional. This is also a podcast where we build a community and give voice to those who are doing it differently, going against the grain and learning to flow, while kicking the door open for others who are on similar journeys. This is a place for celebration of the human spirit and a call to live courageously, authentically, and unapologetically. So that's what we're doing right now. Is this perfectly how we would like it to be? Absolutely not. I would really love to be seeing Leah's face on the screen right now, and for you to see it as well. It feels nice to be actually be talking with somebody, but we're gonna go for it. We always start this podcast off with just a little bit of breathing to bring the head and the heart and the gut into this beautiful coherence, especially when things like this are happening and the mind is like wanting to go crazy because why is this not working properly and all of the stuff that goes on. And we're just going to get present. We're going to let go of what's already happened today, and we're going to let go of what we think might happen in this broadcast, and we're just going to go with it. So um, we're just going to invite you to I'm like, just breathe. Just breathe. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Downward gaze if that's what feels comfortable. I was going to get fancy and say, let's do 4-7-8, is some, which is a breathing pattern I just learned. But let's just breathe. Just in through your nose, breathe deep, deeper than you would normally breathe. Past your chest, feel your belly expand. If you can, feel it all the way down into your hip bones. Closed eyes, downward gaze, whichever feels comfortable for you. And just take a few big, deep breaths as full as you can, and then just release them. Make noise if you want to. Be do feel a little bit uncomfortable and make noise. We're gonna do this with you. Let's just take three, just really nice big breaths. In through your nose, hold it at the top a little bit. Blow it all out. Do it again. And one more. Well, I'm going to click this button down here one more time that says hide and then see if we, by some crazy chance, can get Leah to pop on here. I, I don't get it. It gives the countdown. I don't know if you saw the countdown, Leah, but then you're not popping on the screen. Do you still have it up on your Facebook?
Yep,
And can you hear yourself?
I think so.
I'm going to click this button down here one more time.
It's got a delay.
We're a little bit delayed. Yep, that's okay. That's okay. Some crazy chance can get Leah to pop on here. I don't get it. It gives the countdown. I don't know if you saw the countdown, Leah, but then you're not popping on the screen. Can you guys hear the replay? Still have it up on your Facebook?
Yeah, I can hear them. Yeah, I can hear me.
Well,
I just heard myself then.
Awesome. Let's just go with it, because this is how it goes sometimes. Like last night, I was in a meeting. Maybe Leah, you were in the same meeting. Maybe you heard this. The coach was saying, I believe it was man. Now I can't remember who said it, but it's basically. Oh, he thought maybe it was Eisenhower who said this, and he said planning is essential, but plans are useless. We made plans to do this, and then crap happens, and you just go with it. And so that's what we're going to do today. Just go with it. Leah, what are your thoughts on that? It feels so weird to know that I'm talking. I can see your picture that no one else can. It totally looks like I'm talking to myself, which I do. What are your thoughts on like planning is essential, but plans are useless?
I totally agree. I think plans give us a false sense of security and a false sense of control, because really we have no idea. There's so many variables, and if you try to plan for everything, you're just going to end up frustrating yourself. I remember as a teenager, just because I had just already been through a lot of life, my friend, we were in high school, and she was telling me like she was so meticulous about her plans and like everything to the last detail. And I remember like laughing out loud and just thinking, you think you have control over all of this, like, but you can't account for all the different things. Like I just don't see the point. It doesn't leave space for curiosity for me. It doesn't leave space for being in active creation. And it's rigid to me. For me, there needs to be flexibility. There needs to be room for getting outside the lines.
Man, I totally agree with that. When I had a coach quite a few years back now. We were working on building some business and some other things, and he's like, "You got to know your structure. It's got to be structured." And I was just like totally bumping up against that, and I actually like at that point. I had such strong feelings about it. And this is a word I didn't use very often, the F word. I actually created a sign that's still in my bathroom that says F structure, bring on formation. So I love that you said that. Like structure for me, like feels rigid, like you just said. And whereas formation has this flow to it. Like things come into form, but they can change and shift, and that feels so much better for me. And I don't know about you, when I have a plan and my mind gets really settled on that plan, and then those details don't work out right or in the order or the way that I think they should, like I find myself in such consternation and just like whereas if I can create a plan and know that life's going to happen, it just, I find myself far less frustrated and discouraged and willing to just keep having courage and moving forward.
I love that.
Yeah. Thoughts on that for yourself?
Um,
I feel like you have I'm asking because I feel like you have a very different view on that as far as like my whole life was structured. Like that's how I move through life. Goals and setting up all the steps and taking all the measures and doing all the things. And I feel like you have a different experience with that. Do you mind sharing? I wish we could see your face.
That feels really loaded. I'm not sure where to start with that.
It was not intended to be loaded. I just know that we lived very different younger lives, and it feels like my experience of watching and hearing your stories just you just had a very different experience. Like mine was very, I would say, rigid and structured, and yours just had a different way about it, which I believe caused you to move through the world differently. Where I still want to like get crunchy, you're like, hey, chill. Like,
yeah. Well, I think so. I think that, I'm not even sure where to go with that. I hear you when you say about just the structure, routine of life, having people in your world that keep you accountable to things. I think community. I didn't have a lot of that. We came to Canada as immigrants, and our culture was very different. And trying to fit in while trying to make a life, and not having community, not being committed to how religion was practiced in the Catholic faith in our community anyways. I called it pretend Catholics. And like, that's not the case for everyone in that situation, but in our family, I just spent a lot of time alone. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately of just that difference between how you grew up and how I grew up. And I think because I didn't have all that influence and other people helping keep me in line and follow the rules, there's more room for me to explore and to test different ideas and think a different way. I mean, there was rigidity in my household, like you knew who was boss, but there was also a lot of just open space. So I think from there is where I really just learned to be adaptable and flexible. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question. I feel like I'm on different tangents.
Well, okay, so I'm not necessarily asking you to share stories. I just know that your life circumstances and the things, like your experiences, just didn't have the same rigidity. Like you got to rely on yourself a lot, and you had to learn how to trust differently, and you had to, like, you just had this knowing that things would just fall into place without having to sit down and write it all out and have, this completely structured plan. Like you were in circumstances that just, I'm going to use the word allowed or forced you to see it differently and do it differently. And you didn't know how to plan. And sometimes I call it limbo. When I'm in spaces like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in so much limbo and I don't even know how to plan. And it puts me in that place of like, sometimes I feel a little bit of angst, but there's also, I think that angst is more just, it also could be a curiosity and an excitement of like, oh, I don't really know what's coming and I don't exactly know how to plan for this or for that. And it's like, and I feel like you just have a better handle on that just because of your circumstances growing up, whereas mine was I was able to like
Follow a structure.
and it was very highly taught, like set a goal, here's what you do, set another goal, here's another thing, here's another. And I just feel like it's just very interesting to watch how we go about that the quote of like planning is essential but plans are useless, like because
Yeah.
I feel like you handle that. I'm getting better, but I feel like you handle that far better than I do. Like I have to really like in my brain if things are changing that and I know I'm going to be okay, but I've got to like let things settle. Like, wait, that's not and then come back around. Like, not with everything, but certain things.
Sure. Well, and it's a sense of safety. I think really for me it was more about just learning to feel safe when nothing feels safe, and um,
Okay. Wait, say that again. I think that's that was a big statement.
so learning to feel safe when nothing in your world feels safe. Um, it's those places I think where we can go inside, or we find those places in ourselves. We find our strength. We find our quiet. Because for me, I don't like a lot of chaos. Like I like to do my own thing. I just and to me that creates a lot of noise inside me, and I can't function. I don't live in a state of peace that way. And so I think sometimes I'm just really lazy because I don't have the want or desire to put my mental energy there. And I don't know if it's just
Put your mental energy where?
into planning,
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
because
Gotcha.
I think sometimes with planning comes this expectation. And
Absolutely.
you say this premeditated disappointment, or however it is you say that.
Resentments, premeditated resentments.
Well, and that too, right? So I think it's not don't plan, because I'm also getting better at that piece of being more prepared, and also doing things differently, that can pose more physical risk. Like I have to think ahead of things, um, but plan and know that plans can change.
And will.
And yeah, know that they will. And you can try and think of all the possible scenarios, but there'll always be something that you just couldn't plan for.
Right? Especially when there's other people involved. And
Hmm.
they have their own sets of plans or ways that they think they should be, and you can talk about things, and it's even far crazier when you don't communicate and talk about things. But even when you talk about it and you make a plan together, like you've got to know stuff's going to happen because you're with other people and just circumstances. I appreciate that.
Well, what's coming up for me is
I'm like, oh
um,
no, what
it's
story are you
that
share?
no, I think this is universal. Like we go to bed and we're feeling all motivated, and we're gonna, like, we have these plans that we're gonna rock our day the next day, and we're gonna get up at this time, or we're gonna do this workout, and we're gonna do blah blah blah, all these things. And then the middle of the night comes, or the early mornings, and that alarm clock is going to come on, and you're like, oh heck to the no. Like,
Right? We've
I'm gonna
stayed up
do
too
it in
late
those times.
talking or
Yeah,
reading. It's like,
right.
great. How are we still awake?
Yeah, and we have to account for, we're not the same person moment by moment. Like, we're constantly changing, and our energy and our, how we look at things, and new information comes in. Like, we're always changing that way. So you can plan, but
I love that.
only to a certain point.
So
You
talking
just
about
went
planning,
blue, Jen.
what's that?
The screen just went blue. It came back. Never mind. Go ahead.
I'm like, mine didn't go blue. I'm hoping that by some miracle you're just going to pop onto the screen. Um, I know, it'd be fantastic. And I'm also hoping that it's still recording both our voices so that when you're talking, like I'm just not, just all the things that go through my head of like, wow, this isn't perfect. And yet it's absolutely perfect, especially because we're talking about planning, which was unplanned.
Yeah.
Those plans changed. So I'm going to shift just a little bit and same topic, but I think one thing that I've noticed for myself, especially like I've been noticing it for a little while, but it was so stark and so just like present last Friday morning when I was driving to a client's house, and I had been up in Canada hanging out with you and experiencing lots of changed plans and just going through my own like of that, and some of it I moved through far easier than others, knowing that that's how things are, but like on a bigger scale, like a more grand scale, and in this phase of like expansion and growth, it's like I am really noticing how I'm going to use the word routines. You know, routines are plans that we follow consistently. That they don't they're not working for me anymore, or as well. And it's not that I don't. I love the people that I get to work with and the interactions that we have, and I love having them as clients. But as I was driving the roads, there's two paths that I can take to get there, and I've driven both of them hundreds of times. And I just had this very stark thought of I don't want to do it this way anymore. And it's not about the client. It's just about how life has how I have planned it out, and just this knowing and the concept of if you want to be something different or have something different, you got to do something different. You got to plan something different. And it just is really interesting how that's so present in my mind right now. And just how driving that day, it was like it's just not doing it. The plans aren't doing it anymore. Any thoughts on that for yourself? Like, I'm not sure where to go with that. It's just very present in my mind right now and in my lived experience.
I think it's just really easy to get comfortable in what we're doing, but comfort is one of those things that creates a space of slowly dying, but it's hard to get away from comfort, and
Absolutely.
It's familiar, it's predictable, it's a sense of safety, and but when I say that, I think of what you say, safe, same, and we can't grow and see new things. So the example that comes up is I live by the coulees right now, and it's so hilly and amazing, and you can. I think of it as if we stay, in the valley, all we see is these giant hills, and we can't really go anywhere with it. But if we can't see past those hills, right? But if we go up a little bit on the mountain, it's amazing, on the hills, it's amazing how much more perspective, how many more paths that you can see, how many more opportunities, just going a little bit further up the mountain. So I kind of relate that to growth, and the whole idea of safe, same. You could be safer in the valley, but it takes more effort to go up the hill. It takes more maybe planning because you need certain footwear because it's slippery or icy. But that you're not going to see past those big hills, those obstacles, those those things that keep you in the valley.
I like that. I have found a way. I'm not going to be able to like put us both on screen, which I don't know why.
Okay.
But hold on, let me try it this way. Hi!
Hi.
I just recognized, speaking of hills and valleys and only being able to see perspective, I felt like we've been in the valley for the last 25 minutes. And I just noticed that there's a button on the thing that says solo off. Mine was red, yours was white. And when I pushed yours, you came on the screen as you were just talking. I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll just go back and forth between these buttons. Then I'm like, wait, what happens if I push red on mine? And ta-da!
That's funny.
I found a hill.
And you climbed it. Look at you grow.
I know. And now that kind of just took me a little bit. Will you just kind of recap your thought? Like I heard it. Just staying in the valleys and being up on the hills.
Yeah, when you can climb up the hill, you'll get more perspective, and but it pushes you. You have to get out of the comfort of being in the valley, and it requires a different set of muscles and different motivation.
Well, and I when you say that, I think about other things that when you say it requires a different set of muscles or to use those muscles differently. I think of the muscles of trust, the muscles of faith, the muscles of courage. And for myself, I don't think I know one of the things that I've been really contemplating and thinking about is when I take those same paths, I don't really have to have faith. I don't really have to have trust, and I don't really have to have courage. I know them. I could wander around a different way and still know how to get myself there, but it's all known. And so I feel like some of the paths that I've been on and that my soul has been calling me to go on are these spaces of, and I feel like I've been in the valleys and I know I've climbed some hills. Like I'm just going to keep using your analogies one, because I love that stuff. And because it's what we're going with is, I've been feeling some of the angst of like being in the valleys and looking at those hills and going, duh, I know I can climb them, but it's like, do I want to put in that effort, or do I want to climb that one, or do I want, and how my own trust and my own faith, like actual faith, and my own courage is being tested and pulled and grown, and my soul is calling me, forcing me almost to different paths and different hills to climb and different perspectives. And I can't say that it was part of my plan. It was probably my soul's plan. It knows far. I believe it knows far more than I know as a human. It just has been an interesting thing to witness and observe for my life, and a really interesting, sometimes really uncomfortable place to be, and to be able to sit in that discomfort and make plans knowing that they're going to change.
Yeah.
And I ask myself, like, is this worth it? Like, things might have been quieter the way I was doing them before, because there was more routine, there was more stagnancy, I'm going to say. And I have to continually ask myself, is what I want or what I think I want worth all of this?
Well, and that's a legit question you have to ask, right? Because no matter what you do, there's a cost, even to your safe life, your comfortable life, your less roller coaster feeling life.
Okay.
Like,
talk about that. Like, go into more detail about what the cost of the safe, same living can be.
Well, I'm only going to speak for my own experience that
Absolutely.
way.
Absolutely.
For me, I really believe that I was happy and I was in good space and I was growing, but being out of that situation for some time and getting space from the person I was with at the time, I didn't, not that they're a bad person. I'm not trying to put them down that way. But I didn't realize how much everything that I did was through the filter of what they approved of, what they were okay with, what they said, um,
Sure.
and the behavior that came somewhere, knowing that if I didn't do it that way in a way that was approved, that I would pay for it. And for me in that space, it wasn't worth the cost. For me, the cost in that space was um, lack of connection, emotional withdrawal, the silent treatment, um, and more further isolation. I already lived out in the country. I already was far away from family, and I didn't have a car for a span of 3 years. So for me to go against or to speak up for myself or to have a different opinion felt incredibly dangerous. So in my safe same, I was really good at making shit look good and making the best of that But the cost of that was that I was lying to myself and that I wasn't achieving the growth and the success in my business that I knew I was capable of. And I worked hard at it, but somewhere I feel like, my inner knowing was pulling back because they knew I wasn't aligned. They knew something was off. I knew something was off.
Sure.
So to go out of that and to start climbing that hill, it's death to everything I thought I knew walking through the valley. And that is terrifying because you don't know what's up over those hills. You don't anticipate the pain that it's going to take, in your body, emotionally, mentally, of climbing that hill. But somewhere you have to believe that it's worth what it's going to cost. And then, you always have that space where you're looking back and, oh, the valley was so much easier. Oh, but dang, like I could be in a whole.
I should just go back down this hill.
Yeah, it'd be so much easier just to go down the hill again. But somewhere you have to remember what the cost was, right? And what it cost you to be in that space. And it requires getting really honest with yourself, and
which can be really painful in moments.
Yeah. Well, I think of a story you tell in your TED Talk about seeing the light, I can't remember exactly the wording, but
at the firewalk. Yeah. The light on the side of the hill.
Yeah. And once you see it, you can't unsee it, and maybe that's the little light or that little insight that you get, or that little hand up from someone in your world that sees past the stories that you tell yourself to stay in your own situation, and shows you a whole new world, even if it's just for a short while. Once you see that and you feel that and you know that, you can't turn back. Because even if you stay in your valley, you're always going to be wondering. You're always going to be drawn to go up that hill.
Well, there's something inside you that's like, it's that way. It's that way. Our growth is that way.
Yeah.
It's not back there. Which can be, I know for me, can feel really challenging because sometimes I feel like, and it could be old patterns, it could be beliefs that I have carried that when I grow, that it separates me from the people that I love. And the reality is sometimes that happens. Sometimes that does happen. And people, especially if it's in a partnership relationship or a marriage relationship, you can, if both people are not growing, it's very, very likely that you're going to grow apart, especially if one is like just that drive to grow and that will to grow is strong and pulls and they're willing to take the steps, even if it feels scary or hard, there's a possibility that you're going to grow apart. I remember in my first marriage that we had that discussion one time that we were both on a growing phase, but just kind of in different ways, and just talking about how our growth actually kind of grew us apart. We discovered things about ourselves, and um, it moves you apart. And so I know that's been one of my beliefs that I've packed around in my backpack for a long time of if I grow, what are the people around me going to think? What are they going to say? And the reality is they're already saying stuff, and it doesn't matter. Like they can come with, or they can stay. And that part is hard. My,
Yeah.
the other thing for me of growth, the cost, when you talk about the cost, is earlier you talked about slowly dying. Like there's a, when we, for myself, if by following those same patterns and not being as honest with myself as I know how to be, or um, maybe I was being as honest as I knew how to be at that point, and but not speaking some of that, not using my voice because I was afraid or concerned of what other people would think, and how I would be seen or reflected. It could be differently than how I wanted to present myself, and it was a there was a stagnancy, and in that stagnancy there was a slow death. And it's like when you're in those places, you don't always have the recognition of like what's going on. You just feel something's off. Speaking for myself, feeling like something's off, and whether it's in you or it's in the person that you're with, or the togetherness of you, it's like something's not right, and you don't always know what it is until you do, and then it's like, oh my, it's that, like you said, it's that light and that thing that calls you. And I believe we all have that thing that calls us, and that the reality is there's probably several of those things depending on where we're at in our life and our growth, and our own expansion. And our souls want to go to those things. Our souls like crave curiosity. They crave courage. Courage is of the heart.
Yeah.
And our soul craves that, for us to come back to our hearts and to be curious and explore and not be robots.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's also, um, the protection of the person that we're with, and the story, and
Absolutely.
how the story other people have of us, and the people that look up to us and that come to us for, whether it's support or guidance, or the people that look up, and not that they put you on a pet, maybe they do, but I just think, we start living for everyone else, and we forget ourselves, and we forget what we're here for and what we're living for. And it's not always going to be what other people think it should be.
Yeah. Well, and I so agree. And again, that goes back to like what I was talking about for myself, of like it's testing my faith, like my actual faith. It's testing my trust, and not trust on things outside of me, but trust, like the trust of my own heart and of my own soul, and of my own courage. And I think one of the costs of this for me in the current moment is, this is tender for me,
Mm.
is it's man, I don't know the word. I don't know if it's confusion or if it's dissonance. It's definitely a dissonance of who and what God is in my life, and how to have interaction and relationship with that energy, um, in a way that feels real and authentic in this space of my life. I feel like I feel like so much bigger, and I've known this my whole life. I just don't think I haven't been courageous enough to trust myself in this. That is so much bigger than what I've been taught, and I'm having this dissonance of this growth period, and my soul almost screaming at me like, there is more, there is more, and there's more to this being or this entity or this energy, and myself too. And that I feel like these experiences that I'm getting to move through right now are just saying, hey, see me in a bigger way, see you in a bigger way. And it's really pushing comfort zones. It's really pushing like what my faith is, uh, and asking me to actually have like honest, great faith and trust in myself, and knowing that I can make plans, but doesn't necessarily mean my plans are the plans.
Right. Well, I appreciate just the honesty and the tenderness of that share. But the thing is, it can feel scary to make plans.
Absolutely.
And especially when we make these plans and we're following other people's plans because those plans worked for them, and
Right.
they're seeing, benefits and success from following these plans. And, you keep looking for your breakthrough, and then it can get really discouraging if you're not seeing the result that you're planning for. But I think sometimes in that space we forget to account for progress, and sometimes progress has a heavier weight than the outcome of the plan.
Well, and I think this piece too, in this whole like, how does God work in my life right now, and plans of like, I set a plan and an outcome that I would like, and he's like, yeah, but it's too small. I have greater plans, and I need you to be able to think bigger. And not be in the frustration of when my plan doesn't work, like to just trust that there's probably something bigger, or I don't love the word better, but for lack of a better word, we're gonna use better.
Well, why not?
I like totally want to be a smart aleck right now, and my mind's like trying to spin through a way I can make a joke about better and butter, and it's not working. So
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. What are your thoughts on that? Like cost, and I know that we have different. You and I've had the conversations as I move through this dissonance and new bigger. I'm gonna just call it bigger trust and faith in the energy of God and who God is, and I don't even know where to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're asking me.
I'm not sure the question.
So what I'm seeing is, I've seen a lot of growth, over the last 2 years that we've been just in each other's space. And I think, I've seen steady growth over that time, but what I've always seen just in little glimpses is what, you affectionately call the snarkiness. I don't see it that way.
I feel like I can be pretty snarky.
Yeah, but it's not. I don't feel it as snarky. I feel it as a part of you that's been quiet for a long, long time and is just itching to be heard. And there is a power and a confidence that just radiates from you when you show up that way. And it's not mean, it's not condescending, it's not manipulative. Like there's just such a raw beauty to it is powerful yet tender, and just speaks truth to bullshit. And that can be a really tough place to come from, because it's vulnerable, and it opens you up to, oh my gosh, you have an opinion. Oh my gosh, you're going to call stuff out. But it opens you up to scrutiny or opposing opinions. But I think instead of being discouraged, or, oh, people don't agree with me or whatever, it's a beautiful opportunity to open conversation and to address some of these things and some of these beliefs. Because you talk about this all the time, that it's not about you. It's a reflection of how they see their world, how they see themselves, how they see how the world should work. And when you come in and you are rattling that up for them, it's, of course they're going to have a reaction, because it matters, and you're striking a chord, and it's an invitation to look at things different.
I'm just going to say thank you.
Okay.
No, I appreciate that. I can't say that I wanted to be a rattler. I wanted to be a teacher and an exemplar and all these, like, I was timid. I'm still thinking of that word. I'm going to grab this clipboard right here. Find a way to like talk through this space for a second.
Okay.
You're not talking.
And this is you asked me to talk. Okay. I think this is the space that you were talking about, like a learned passiveness.
This is the word. So I was working with a client the other day, and she was talking about how we were talking about how she has seen herself, how she currently does, how she'd like to, those kinds of things, and she said, like, I'm just insecure. And I thought, when she said that, I got a picture of her walking through the door of the space that we were in, and I thought, in my mind, I thought, the person who walked through that door was not an insecure person. And I actually looked at her and I said, bullshit. I said, I'm calling bullshit. I said, really what I think it is, and I can say it because I've done it myself, and I think lots of us do it. It's not insecurity. It's a practiced insecurity. Practiced insecurity. In that maybe when we were young, we said something and we got our hand smacked, or we got made fun of, or we, the adults in our world disagreed with us, or maybe as we got older, something in school or in church or whatever, and we start becoming, we don't trust ourselves, and we start looking outside of ourselves, and we this particular client said, I ask everyone for an answer, like what should I do, or what about this, or what about that, or I don't like to go to the grocery store by myself because I can't make decisions, or all the things. It's a practiced insecurity. I do not believe that it is insecurity. It's something that's taught us, and then we practice it, and it's our job. And I feel like this is I feel like I have fallen back into some of that myself, and I think we all do. We probably cycle through it. As you're talking about this growth, it's this place of learning to trust ourselves, to have courage to come back home to ourselves, to have greater faith in God, the energy, the higher power, whatever that is for you. And I feel like I'm just in that space of recognizing my own practiced insecurity, and I've been really good at it the last couple of years, and it hasn't felt very good.
But there's a safety to it, because then other people are willing to come in and rescue, or come in and be of service.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
I can't say that's necessarily been the case. I just have hidden. I haven't spoken up. I haven't used my voice. I've probably let myself feel like a victim in certain places. And
Well, I think it's that whole thing of looking to everyone else to help you find your solution or your answer, right? Like that's a giving away of your personal power.
yeah,
Saying, I don't trust myself, I'm putting my trust in you. I trust your opinion more than I trust myself.
yeah. And I think that's part of that. Oh, now she completely disappeared. Leah, I don't know if you can still hear us, but you're gone. Um, for me, I think that's part of that uh, well driven, well rutted path is that space of um, there's a there's a security in the insecurity. I can feel confident in those things because I know them, but I still have an insecurity, have had an insecurity to just really step into the spaces that I know my soul has been pulling me to or calling me to. I'm just getting a message and say, "Hey, we lost you." Um, anyway, uh, I would love to hear from you what your thoughts are on this. I would love to hear your thoughts on plans, on making plans and having plans change, what it looks like for you. Um, I'm like, which one am I choosing? I'm choosing this one. Um, we'll put her up here, and when her camera comes on, then it'll hopefully that'll work. Can you hear us, Leah? Anyway, I would love to hear what it is for you guys. Like, how are you experiencing this period of your lived experience? Like, we're in 2025. The world's been crazy. Lots of life has been crazy. I know in 2024 I had lots of people say they just felt like they got their butts kicked, and in lots of ways I felt like I got my own kicked. And uh it's not a bad thing. Like, we can't label it a bad thing. It's a thing. It's like a wake up call. And what is it that you're waking up to? What are you being called to? What are you being asked, like, you, the soul of you, asking the humanness of you to do? Um, and are you paying attention? Are you paying attention? Are you are you listening to those inklings that are out here before they have to tap on you inside your physical being? Um, is there something that you would like to do, whether it's I don't want to call it a goal, but lots of you know it as goals, so I'm just going to say that you have a goal that you're wanting to accomplish. We call it intentions. Is there something that you're wanting to create? Is there somewhere that you want to go? Is there a person that you want to be with or date? Or what is that thing for you? Like, what is your soul like tugging and on you and tapping, like, come on, come do this thing? Because I'm going to tell you this, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop until you do the thing. And you can choose to endure the cost of a lot of discomfort and a lot of like angst and maybe a lot of like frustration and sadness because you're not doing the thing, a lot of judgment, a lot of like anger and resentment and bitterness. Yeah, I know these things. I know these things. Or we can step into discomfort and we can look at the hill and we can start taking the steps. And I would just like to invite you to start taking the steps, to face the dissonance that you may be facing, to face the discomfort of like, what are the people around me going to think? Is it going to put tension on some relationships? Is it going to burst apart some relationships? Is it going to burst apart the relationship with yourself and your old patterns and your own thinking, which is really uncomfortable at times? And are you willing to do that? to get to where you want to go, to get to the top of that hill or that mountain, and then the next one. Like, you got to be willing to let go of those pieces of yourself and to recognize that the discomfort gets less discomfortable, that the muscles build, the strength grows, the trust in yourself grows, your faith grows, your courage grows, which gives you the ability to face that next mountain or hill of discomfort a little easier because you know you can do it. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you with a mountain of things that have been tapping, and I've been afraid to do it. And so I think that's part of what it's just a new level of what I've always known, what I've practiced, what I got to forget for a little bit, what I got to fall back into practiced insecurity with. And now it's like, it's time to go. And it's time to go for you. So I'm just letting you know we're here for you. Head on over to Righteous Rebels. We're not broadcasting there right now. This will be put on that page. We're going to start growing that community again and putting more attention there. Life kind of necessitated that we just weren't able to give it the attention because the attention needed to go to ourselves. But head on over. We would love to have you there. And if you want some challenges, like physical challenges, I happen to be the race director for the Spitfire Ultra Trail Challenge. That's coming up on April 19th. It's the third Saturday of April. We would love to have you come. We have a 5K. We have a 12K. There's a 30K and a 55K for those of you who are in that. But if you're new to this stuff, come let us support you. We got a potato bar for you at the end. We'll love on you. We'll love on you like crazy. We'll celebrate your discomfort and your growth inside of it. We are watch for our course, Audacious Trust, coming out soon. And then I also have 3 spots available for coaching clients. I'm excited to have those open up, and I'm excited to have you inside of them and to just play and work with you and build you up and help you practice confidence and let go of practice insecurity. It doesn't look like we're going to get Leah back, so I'm just going to say thank you, Leah, for joining us today, for being off screen for a little bit while I figured out what was going on. And for you who are listening, thank you for just being part of the real and letting go of judgment and just recognizing that sometimes when you plan, all the time when you plan, the plans just don't matter because they're going to change. Know that we love you. We appreciate you. We celebrate you and the journey that you're on that's causing discomfort, that's causing growth, and causing you to be here with us. We love you lots. Remember, be bold, be courageous, be a rebel. We'll see you soon.